Celebrate Indiana's bicentennial during Statehood Celebration Day here at Central Library on Sunday, December 11th from 12 noon to 5 p.m. There'll be activities for all ages, including music, crafts, 3D printer demonstrations, an exhibit on preserving Indiana history, and Indiana author appearances. One such author is Nelson Price, a local historian and host of Hoosier History Live, heard weekly on WICR FM. Nelson, it's great to have you with us.
Oh, great to be with you, John. Thanks.
And thank you for celebrating Statehood Day at the library on December 11th. Tell us about what your program will entail.
Well, it's very exciting. We're turning 200 as a state, as I hope most Hoosiers know now. So I've been asked to do a presentation about women who've influenced Indiana throughout the course of our 200 years. So I'll be talking about famous contemporary women from all walks of life, many of whom I've interviewed over the years for different media work, and then historic famous Hoosier women, going clear back to the wilderness days of Indiana.
Wow. Well, you have some great examples here of works that portray Hoosier women, many of whom you've spoken with. Give us a taste of what people can find here.
Okay, well, contemporary famous Hoosier women, among those I'll be talking about are Jane Pauley, who's having a career renaissance again. She just got named the anchor of the CBS Sunday morning show. I grew up 2 blocks away from her on the east side of Indianapolis. Didn't know her until I was an adult because of age difference. But I went to every single school Jane did, from Moorhead Elementary through Warren Central High through IU. So I view her as my mentor in media work. And then also frontier women like Mother Theodore Guerin, who is now Saint Mother Theodore Guerin, our first Catholic saint from Indiana. She's kind of the frontier version of Mother Teresa. She came here from France to the Terre Haute area, founded orphanages and schools, and helped the early settlers as they came here.
Now, one book that you have on display here, Indiana Legends, people can find a lot of the women that you're talking about in this particular book.
Yes, including
the
2 I just mentioned. There's 160 famous Hoosiers. That's the most recent edition of it. We keep adding famous Hoosiers. Nancy Noel, the artist, that's another example, the contemporary artist based out of Zionsville. I'll be talking about her with a big photo display of these women, or illustrations if they're people like Mother Theodore who were alive before photography.
Now, as far as the work that you do as an author and an historian, you mentioned you have a chance to speak with a lot of the women that are portrayed in your works. Is that the basis of your research? Is that what you prefer to do instead of just studying books and archives?
Yeah, well, I love doing interviews, like I'm sure you do too. So I guess that would be my preference, but the historic characters are fascinating, so I love doing research, and I try to track down anybody left who knew them. Like with Madam Walker, I've interviewed people who are descendants of hers for my profile of her in that book, and she, of course, is among the other famous Hoosier women I'll be talking about on December 11th. And
December 11th, again, Statehood Day here in Indiana, celebrating our 200th birthday. What's your sense of how important this has been to you and the people of Indiana?
Well, I hope people are excited about the 200th birthday. All year long there have been celebrations in counties and towns around the state. Then in October we had the climax of the torch returning to the new bicentennial plaza by the state capitol building. And one thing I like to point out is Abraham Lincoln's family came to Indiana just weeks before we were named the new state of Indiana. So the Lincoln Boyhood site in southern Indiana is turning 200 too, in the sense that that's when Lincoln came to it.
Well, we thank you for your participation on December 11th. That will be at 2 p.m. on December 11th. Indiana Statehood Celebration Day here at Central Library. Nelson Price will be one of the presenters that day, but on November 13th, also a Sunday at 2 p.m., you'll be joining fellow historian Joan Hostetler for another program comparing Indianapolis history from the 1800s to current day. Tell us about that.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, John. Joan and I collaborated with a shooting photographer, Gary Chalufo, for the revised edition of our Indianapolis Then and Now book, which is sites all over the city, what was on the site, like you said, in the 1800s or early 1900s, offset with what's there now, a color photo of what's there now. Some of these changes are bad to good, some are good to bad. Fortunately, with the rejuvenation of Indianapolis, particularly downtown, it's a lot more bad to good than good to bad. We've added sites like Lucas Oil Stadium, Keystone at the Crossing is in there. A lot of viewers probably remember the Bazaar era. Some people derisively called it the Bizarre Bazaar, but that was in the 1970s and 80s when there was a silo out front. There was a wicker and bamboo kind of theme in there with an open concept. Very different from the way it looks now with Saks and Brooks Brothers and stuff.
And again, the book to learn more about what Nelson is talking about is in fact called Indianapolis Then and Now. Fascinating book available for people to pick up.
Oh yeah, it's sold everywhere you buy books.
We don't want to leave this segment without talking with Nelson about his great run on WICR FM 88.7, Hoosier History Live. What a great run it's been, and how satisfying.
We've been on the air 8.5 years. We have never been contradicted about this. We're the only live show about a state's history in the entire country on radio. Usually on radio and TV, history is taped. And listeners can call in and ask me questions, or they can ask my guest questions. And great thing about it is history's everything. So we go from sports, art, music, ethnic immigration like Germans, Irish, Cubans, when they came to Indiana, why they came, neighborhood, town histories. So it's a blast to do.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations on that. And again, look forward to December 11th, Statehood Celebration Day here at Central Library, featuring Nelson Price talking about famous Indiana women and Hoosier history, and then his program on Sunday, November 13th, talking about Indianapolis Then and Now. For more information, check the library's website at ndpl.org.